Good morning. My name is Mark Hicks, and I'm a resident here of Charlotte for some 30-odd years. Um, One life lesson would be, I think, to treat others as you would like to be treated. It's as old as time, and we've heard that pretty much from the time we were kids. It's always treat people the way you want to be treated. What a made man means to me is that somebody who has come up uh, kind of by your own bootstraps. I don't think there's anyone that has been successful in America that has not had some lessons in life that have been taught with a strong foundation from your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors. I grew up in a segregated school my first 5 years, and I received a lot of lessons from the principals, from the teachers, from my parents, who fortunately were together until they passed away. So we had not only parents teaching us lessons, we had teachers, principals, we had a village, we had a true village, we had neighbors, we had aunts and uncles who could also discipline you. And I think that gives you such a foundation to go through. When I hear people speak on, they've made it by themselves, I just don't believe it. Nobody has gotten to the top, or nobody has become a made man by themselves. There's always been somebody along to mentor you, or to help you, or to give you guidance along the way. The advice that I would give goes back to something I heard my grandmother say when I was young. God gave us one mouth and two ears. And what that meant was that we are to do twice as much listening as we are to do talking. Lots of people love to hear the sound of their own voice, but my grandmother would always say that you're better off listening and taking in twice as much by listening as you are talking. Mentoring helped me, particularly in the corporate sense. When I started back in the commercial insurance business back in 1986, I had an uncle or cousin who worked in the business, and he gave me some guidance about what to do and how to do when I came into the corporate world. I had another good friend here in Charlotte who also was a mentor when I moved down to Columbia, South Carolina. And basically what that does, it gives you sort of a blueprint of how to conduct yourself. If you're at a corporate dinner, what do you need to do? If you're at a corporate outing, how do you need to conduct yourself? How to get involved in things in the corporate world so that you could be seen for doing the right things. A lot of times I would just talk to friends and some of those mentors that I had in the business. You are always going to face problems. I grew up in 1960. I remember being shot at 10 years old on the way to school one morning back in Raleigh and Apex, North Carolina. So there are always going to be challenges. There's always going to be times that you feel like, I'm working my tail off, and yet nobody recognizes that. So in those situations, you find, friends who've been through similar situations. Because again, I don't think you can understand where anybody has been until you've kind of walked that similar path. Well, years ago, when I lived in Columbia, I decided to get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I had a little down in Columbia. So since I've been in Charlotte, I've been involved in the Black Alumni Advisory Board at the University of North Carolina, University of North Carolina here in Charlotte, where I matriculated and graduated back in 1982. For the past 4 or 5 years, I've been involved with a reading tutoring program at Winding Springs Elementary through my church, Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Charlotte. So we go over every Monday morning and we tutor 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in reading and math, but primarily reading. So what we do is try to give these young kids some guidance, because that school is primarily made up of underprivileged and lower income African American and Hispanic students. So we go over every Monday morning, we sit and talk with these kids, we go over reading, we talk to them about life, we try to stress the importance of getting an education and having that educational foundation now, because when they turn 16 years old, it's going to be too late. And I give them examples of guys that I've known over the years, guys that I grew up with, played basketball with, some made it, some didn't. some were killed, some are in prison now, and try to steer them in the right direction like we were steered in the right direction. I would like to acknowledge the partners and supporters of the Made Man Foundation, in particular the Made Man Foundation, Wells Fargo, the National Urban League, Miller Coors, Ciroc US, the UN, and Upscale Magazine, and EDU Inc. It would be great if you all would join us on November 29th as the honorees mentor youth and college students